watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John, my co-host is Andy, and tonight we are talking Survivor 46, Episode 11, entitled My Messy Sweet Little Friend on this messy, sweet little season. Andy, the nice thing about this episode is we now can avoid the messiest outcome of all. Like your nightmarish final three is no longer a legitimate possibility.
Yeah, and honestly, I think with that, also the idea of a nightmarish winner, I think that could probably be tossed out as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to envision a final three in which someone slightly competent doesn't get rewarded. And I feel like I've got a pretty good read on who that competent player is, but
We'll get to it.
we will. First of all, how did you like this episode?
Yeah, it was good. It's actually nice that I missed last week because I know you had a lot of fun with last week, and I think your fun and your you and Mike talking about it much more fun probably for the listeners because last week I understood why you found it fun. On paper, I too found all the things that you found hilarious, but in practice, I just didn't enjoy the delivery. This week, no such problems. This season is hilarious.
It is. It's just a very fun season. Like I don't know that there's been a ton of amazing gameplay moments, but I've definitely enjoyed the ride, and I feel like that's going to continue. Like I'm still looking forward to tuning in to seeing these people every week.
Yeah. Before we go too deep, I do want to just give a disclaimer for our audience, and also maybe a little, maybe exciting for you, or maybe this will make you jealous, John. If I don't have the same level of animation you've come to expect from our brand, it's because I've spent all goddamn day talking. It's been tough. So as we've established on this show, we don't do interviews.
No.
And that's because I'm generally not that interested in thoughts besides mine. But today I spent like 6 hours doing interviews. I'm a little talked out. And this is where you might get jealous, John. I let them do more of the talking.
No, I don't think I'd be jealous. I think I'd just feel seen more than anything.
So who knows? Maybe I'll carry that forward. Maybe I'll find a way to show that I am an engaged listener and deeply interested in what you have to say.
Yes. You can ask me about my strengths. Tell me about
what is it that you
time.
would say that you do here? No, it wasn't that kind of interview.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really enjoying, and when we were discussing last week's episode, I was like, really? It didn't land for you? I don't know. I think there's enough, like, there's stuff that I like ironically.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff that I like unironically. And like it's delivering on both of those. And I love when that happens. The last time I remember that was like David vs. Goliath, when Angelina was like hitting her stride. And I was just enjoying the shit out of it. And it feels not quite on that level, admittedly, but it's up there. It's on that same track. And I feel like we're going to end up with a, upper tier season for me.
Yeah. And I'll say, we'll get into it just a little bit because it'll inform why I enjoyed this one a bit more, why I didn't dig last week. Again, like I also, like, again, an idea that, and frankly, even in the exact moment when it happens, when Q sets up the talking about Liz starving and then pulls the rug, like that was objectively hilarious. I mean, maybe not objectively, very subjectively hilarious. And, to people like us. Yes.
Yes.
I don't really enjoy Liz and her delivery. So when it started and the first, I'm pissed, I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny. But then when it just kept going, and this is probably a 90-minute issue, like we got it again. I'm like, I'm done hearing from Liz. This is a lot more Liz that I signed up for. Whereas this episode, there are definitely some, and we're going to talk about that. But the bigger piece that ends in hilarity was one that I'd already previously established enjoying quite a lot, which was this was a very Venus-centric episode. And it was pretty fantastic as a result.
And you got the thing that you really wanted, right? You wanted that like Venus comeuppance.
The fly trap, as it were.
Yes. And it was, I mean, I feel like the final tribal not final tribal, but the tribal council could have delivered like one extra level. Like it almost hit the highest of highs. Like if her reaction had been slightly different, I feel like it would have just been an A+ of an episode. But this was still solidly like, we're talking an A-level work here.
Yeah, and I do think like the way that it unfolded was really great because it did highlight some things about her. And it's the thing, like, Venus isn't stupid. She's actually quite smart, And we've seen it in the most recent episodes too. Like, her reads when it's not about herself were often pretty bang on, even when she, was purposely being excluded from the conversations that were happening. Like, she could anticipate what things were. She has a mind for the structures of the game, and we see her speaking to it and why she has to do this and that. But in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It's who you are. And that was her downfall. She says that she's, I can't show this idol. I don't want anybody to know about it. She's like, oh, I remember that I got to still look for it. She doesn't open it up right away. Like, all good things.
Yeah, right.
And then she just can't not, in this moment, now that she's flush with the endorphins, let somebody know. But I'm smart, though. Like a Fredo type way. But again, the whole time she's never seemed unintelligent, just self-aware. And she doesn't go all the way. She doesn't say it, but she does enough that I'm convinced in real life, but even I don't care in story, she sunk her own game due to her own hubris. And it was just chef's kiss.
And sort of on that same topic, why is everyone on this season obsessed with credit? Why it feels like we're playing LinkedIn and not Survivor. Like, it's all about resume life, and just I don't understand it. And like, even Venus, that was the thing, is she had to say something about how she has tricks up her sleeve, right? Like, she couldn't just keep it to herself, even though, like, I think she knew that was the thing, because she verbalized, like, oh, I've got to keep looking for idols. Again, she was doing some correct things, and I think she understood the thought process and, like, the reasoning behind these things, but then just could not execute on not telling anybody. There had to be some, like, please, I need you to recognize how great I am. And just, she couldn't keep it to herself.
And, again, to be fair, not alone in this regard, especially this season,
not remotely.
But in general, especially of late in Survivor, man, that's why nobody's kept these things secret. They want you to know. They're super excited. It's this bucket list thing, but they also want people to know that they're the most special. But for Venus, if again, maybe this is the construction of the character I built about her. She's accustomed to being celebrated in life, and that has not happened at all in her entire time here. So now she's got something, and it's like, well, damn it, I need that. I'm going to celebrate me. She makes sure to do that in her confessionals, and you know what? Go off, King. But it's also a little hilarious. Like, it's just such a great microcosm. Every time, she'd be down in this game, and then just a slight positive comes her way. And this is more than slight, pending. suddenly she's all backlit. She's the queen, like when she was down, and then Randon's like, well, you know what, maybe I would work with Venus. And now she's like, I run this bitch. And it's like that again. Like even when she's talking to Kenzie about this idea of getting rid of Q, she's like, okay, I just want to know you, but I can get us a fourth vote. Like, it's like, you don't know this, but you've come to the right person. I've been ready to spring my trap this entire. It's just, oh God. So it's the same thing. She just can't not say something because she's in this conversation, and there's no value to it. All is, I think, what she's doing and saying before that is what she needs to do to get Charlie to vote this way. But she wants that adulation because she misses it.
Right. And you can, like, in a very basic sense, you can understand, like, a whole lot of winning this game is how others perceive you, right? And so she's trying to craft this narrative where, like, I think she can probably tell maybe she's not the most beloved other player, right? Like, she's not surrounded by people, like, trying to align with her. And so she's sort of like, well, if I can then shift that narrative to where I'm so smart and I've been underestimated and look at how I'm running things, like, I think she just couldn't resist that appeal.
Yeah.
Like the way to, like, get that back. Like, haha, you've tried to keep me down, but I'm Queen Venus and I shall rise. Also, at the start of this episode, you mentioned Kenzie. Same shit with Kenzie. Kenzie needed that credit too. This needed to be her move. Like, oh, I can't believe we took out Tiffany. It wasn't my move. Like, that's what I'm so upset about. Like, that was going to be my move.
And then Maria is the opposite, just glowing. Don't even need the night vision.
It has to be our move.
This was my move, and it feels so good. I can't wait for another. I understand to some level. I am actually happy that we have a cast full of people when they watch Survivor be like, I would like to do some of those things, right? Because for a while we had the opposite. It's like doing stuff.
Right.
Why would I do that? But how they're not realizing that, credit has importance, so people need a reason to vote, but it also has a risk. And maybe for too long, we had people that were worried about risk too much. And now we have people worried about credit too much. And I'll say for me, give me the people worried about credit too much any day of the week, because I'm not saying it's a strong play, but it's hilarious.
It's good TV. It's better than the alternative because we have certainly experienced that alternative.
And I love that it doesn't seem for most of them. There's one definite exception, and we're going to talk about it, that like they haven't like put it two together. It's like, well, I keep taking out the people who have been gaining credit and taking the credit I feel is deserved, but I still want it though. It's the Tobias thing where it's like that. That never works, but I think for me,
maybe for
this
me.
time.
Yeah, it is entertaining to watch everyone want to make the big move. And then again, I said this before, but none of these, it's so exceedingly rare to have something be entirely your move. Essentially, it has to be like, a situation where you nullify every single vote with an idol and then you take out a person all on your own. Like, that is the situation where it can happen. And that essentially never happens. It has happened, but it almost never happens. And so, like, these moves that are quote unquote yours had to be done with the help of other people, and just the need to claim the credit, right? Oh, I have to have this bullet point on my LinkedIn resume so that, I get the recruiters reaching out to me. Like, I don't get it, because you could go so much further by saying like, we really got him there. That's it. You just change one word and you'd be you'd be killing it, because everybody would continue to want to work with you. But no, again, don't take my advice because I'm enjoying the shit out of this. But like, that's the easy and obvious thing to do.
So are you doing this on purpose? Because all this resume and like LinkedIn talk based on like the difficult day that I just went through, or
look, LinkedIn John is about to come out. I'm about to start talking. There's a flag draped in the background.
None of you are going to find it. I won't point it towards you, but it is special. I'll just say that.
It is.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like, I guess to Maria's credit, she did do a bit of that we, like, as she's talking about it. She's like, and we could be the final five and all of that. I don't know the degree to which people bought it. But
nope.
At least better than who was it that did it? It was like Venus when Soda was taken out, but and then Tevin does it next.
Tevin
and that's
too.
what led to his ouster. Yeah.
Yep.
So small baby steps, but it is true, all of them. At least I'll give Kenzie this, and unbelievably, it's almost entirely bias speaking, but I think hers was also like not just a regret for losing credit, but also just not doing it at all. Like she knows that she cost herself that opportunity, whereas like Liz, for instance, is freaking out that other people are just taking it from her. But again, it's almost entirely messenger at that point. Why I think one is handled better than the other.
Speaking of interpreting the message via the messenger, so when Venus finds that idol, there's, as you mentioned, she very intelligently decides, oh shit, I cannot stop looking for the idol because then it will be very obvious that like I have found the idol. So she continues to quote unquote look to the degree that Kenzie's like, damn, Venus is so bad at this. But it never dawns on Kenzie that like she might be just so bad at this because she's not really trying.
And I do think there was like a half-hearted like line. Well, unless she already found it, but then I think she dismisses that.
Exactly.
Instantly.
Like, oh well, yeah, Venus could never have though. And so then we get the captioned scene of Venus saying, like, oh, I can't imagine. Like, I had to be the worst to get voted out with an idol in your pocket. And at that point,
ding, 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 ding.
Paused the program, took a picture of it, sent it to last week's co-host Mike, and I was like, I think I know how this episode's going to turn out.
Yeah, at that moment, I'm like, it's going home. Now, at some point in the episode, I did have enough doubt. It's like, well, maybe it happens next week.
Look,
like,
I wrote game over in my notebook, Andy.
Yeah.
It was time.
I was 95% sure Venus is getting voted out as an idol, but maybe this my preservation of doubt was like, would I get that lucky though? And yes, yep. The Survivor gods give it, and they take it away. And that was really early. And what's awesome, this is so great. You don't do this because healthy life choices and all that. But I posted this even in comments because I watched the episode late, like even later than usual, because I had a baseball game to coach prior. I did go on to Twitter afterwards, and this is what you need to do if you haven't done it. And it'll be a little harder by the time you listen to this. Scroll through, your timeline. If you have a Survivor curated timeline like I do on one account, and find the moment where Venus finds the idol. Not the end of the episode. Don't travel later. This will come in a second, but you don't travel. You're traveling back because it's discussed, as people will know. Twitter has been a very pro Venus arena in the Survivor fan community. And oh my God, those people were eating. Yes, Queen. And then dunking on Kenzie for how, you think she doesn't have it. Look out. You doubt our Queen. She's going to run this. And it's just an amazing world to live in retrospect, right? Knowing. And frankly, for some of those people who are like strangers, nobody I know, I spent time Venus idol. That was my search. Not for this purpose, but to find the photo of which you speak, so that somebody else could do the work for me. Sadly, they didn't post it right away because they thought this was a moment of triumph instead of the ultimate foreshadowing what was happening. Some of those people, I would then click on their profile to then see where they get to by the end of the episode. Oh man, it's amazing. It's just great stuff. They were so riding on high. This was their time. Their derided Queen. You guys don't get it though. You've been calling her, a goat, but she is actually the goat. That wasn't a direct quote, but that's that effect. And oh wow, they went to dark places by the end. And to the credit, a few of them then peaked at that moment too. It's like, she wouldn't be so dumb to say that, right? Yeah, but you're not going to play it though, right?
Nope.
Oh, so we don't have this in the breakdown, but I'm sure it's in the idol portion. We need to discuss this 3 times in a row.
Great.
4th time overall.
I was going to say, not just 3 times, 3 in a row and 4 total. Insane on the same season.
You realize the only person who's played an idol this season was Jess, who hadn't slept in a week, and that idol wasn't real. How about them real idols, though?
Oh, real idols are about to have as much power as fake idols.
Dear
Like, damn.
God. And it's like, I'm trying to think, is Venus's non-play more understandable in the sense that maybe at this point she'd gotten nobody's targeting me, they're not looking to vote me out. We certainly gotten to the point is like, I don't know if they're going to try to get rid of Venus. Or is it less understandable, A, because you were just one of 2 people left out of the last vote, and that was like last night, and B, and most especially, you just saw it happen to 2 people in a row.
Well, to be fair, I don't know that they were fully convinced that Hunter had the idol. Although, I mean, he did.
He did.
But
he told her. At the very least, one of the motivations for voting for him was because he had an idol now. Does she not know about Tiffany's? Because again, she was left out of that idea, but I feel it was common knowledge. It was discussed at Tribal Council by Q that led to the break falling out that Applebee's couldn't solve. So I think she has an idea that this is possible, and yet it didn't work out for those people. But maybe this time. Yeah, I think in terms of like ranking how bad they were, I still feel like Hunter. I feel same. Yeah, I agree.
He knew votes were coming his way, right?
Yeah.
Like that one's about as bad as it can get.
The caveat, though, that like he was sitting in a tribal council that apparently was like 45 minutes to an hour of like Tiff just going off on cue. Like, sure. So like I understand and be like, I really think she's voting for him. I understand believing that. I still don't sign off at all on not playing it. So there's that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even in that case, like we discussed it at the time, but it's not just, play it because some votes are coming your way. Like, bet on yourself. Like, you're good at challenges and you could find another idol. Like, there was so many more reasons for him to play it there. Like, I think Tiff and even to an extent Venus, you can at least see some argument for not playing. Like, I didn't think Hunter had much of any argument. At least with both of these, you can be like, I mean, I guess. But yeah, I'm very glad that these were the outcomes, even though I enjoyed watching Tiffany. And I did enjoy watching Venus, just not in the same way.
Another counter, though, is, and before the episode posted, you can attest, I wrote this in, our Slack, because I watched last week's like Thursday after the podcast had even been posted for several hours. So there was not a lot of discussion still happening in our open channel. So I never had a chance to mention it somewhere, but it's like, what's it going to take for these people to like genuinely believe when they hear, oh yeah, this time the vote's for Q? And like at this, like I thought he basically had functional immunity at this point, because if I were in that game and somebody telling me the vote's for Q, I'd be like, okay, yeah, but they're not really for Q. It's for me, right?
Yes.
And the answer turned out to be not much for somebody to believe it's Q, to believe so thoroughly for at least the 3rd time in a row. I think Jeff is being a little unfair with suggesting that like Q was a decoy vote and a Tevin vote. Q tried to make himself that, but it wasn't true. But certainly the next ones, certainly with Hunter, certainly with Tiffany. And now Venus is like, I don't need this idol because it's Q this time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a red flag if you're being told that the vote is Q at this point, right? Like, I mean, it genuinely could be Q next week. I don't think it is. But as soon as someone tells you that, you should be suspicious.
And again, maybe, if you're down on votes, you might have no other hope, like I understand Kenzie going for it. What's the value of going not for it, right? But you have an idol. You've seen how people can leave with it. You see how dodgy the idea that people are just going to vote out Q. Frankly, you should have known with that conversation, if not the initial one, then your secondary one with Charlie, that maybe he's not 100%. I understand coming out of that believing that Charlie was with you, because that speaks to Charlie's ability. But I think in some ways, especially when you see the way she did with Kenzie, it's like, oh, I got this other fourth vote on lock. Yeah, I would have. I think there's enough on the table that her not playing this idol was fucking ridiculous. And I hope that it is rehidden and that somebody finds it next week. I know there's a lot of bitching and belly aching in Survivor communities when it's like found again at 6 or whatever. I've never understood that. The rules clearly state that it's good till 5, so why should it disappear before 5? Makes no sense to me.
Right.
And they that was a cross that people would use to hang like seasons in the 30s, not recognizing that like some of their most beloved seasons also had that scenario happen. Misplaced anger in many ways. I'm worried. This is insidery thing, like Hornacek in our comments. That's a commenter, not the former point guard of the Jazz and Suns and Sixers. He was traded for Charles Barkley. Small mode. Our broadcast said the final idol of the season is held, but I have no reason why that would be true. Frankly, I feel like they moved them to another beach and they're like, there might be an idol out there with the last vote. So please let them find it, and please let it be like Liz that finds it. That's what I want for her to be the next. Yes. But low odds on that one, right?
I mean, for multiple reasons. Number one, why would she be?
Well, it's hard to find when you're just laying there, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Secondly, I mean, I was going to say, like, what are the odds she wouldn't play it? I mean, I can understand Liz thinking, like, well, it's not me that's the target. So
this is the time we finally get Q.
This is it. Q's the plan this time. In an episode of some bad decision making, let's not overlook the reward decision making process. Let's talk about some Maria here, because Maria, after winning that,
after sitting through the one the week prior,
yes, and seeing the reactions of Liz specifically, Maria now gets to choose people to come with her. And she even asks, how many will I get? Because she's clearly thinking ahead to like, oh shit. I can tell, like, I've seen how Liz reacted last week. Do I want to try to win her over? Like, what makes me not seem like an asshole here? Well, Andy.
All right, hot take. Is it possible? Maybe this isn't a take. This is a question. Is it possible that this was funnier than last week?
It's
in part because it builds on it, right? Like it requires last week to get there.
Yes. When you lead with, I want to give it to the people who have been suffering. Okay, now people who have been suffering, beg me for it.
So make your case. And then...
And then, okay, person who is most full, it's you against the person eating rationed white rice. Just do a game of chance. We'll see. Like a lot of times, I think after the people that are left out of rewards or whatever, like it's just, standard issue, bitching and moaning. Oh, this person, I can't believe. I genuinely do think
point here
that they would have respected her more if she just said it's Q because he picked me last time. Like, I do believe that. I think, that isn't just something that they said. Like, there is a typical level of complaining when you don't get picked on a reward. And this was completely justified. Like, there was really no reason for Maria
Yeah, and I
to
think
do it
again,
this way.
in comparison to why like last week's just didn't land for me in the same way, is last week we get Liz just complaining and creating this narrative arc that like it's her grand destiny to eat at Applebee's and all that. And again, as I saying that out loud, that's hilarious. I get it. I didn't like hearing it from her
See?
specifically, right? Like her presentation is the thing. This week we get Kenzie just being like, I was floored. Like, how do you set it up like that and then choose that? And I'm like, yes, it's an insane thing to do. And what's make it even better is Maria thinks she nailed that. You know, like Q, I think understood what he was doing,
Mhm.
especially with the knowledge that we have now that you did not when you recorded the podcast. That like both Kenzie and Maria volunteered to give there's their spot last week to Liz, and Q was like, nope. I won the right to choose it. I don't choose her. Which is...
I am so glad. On the one hand, I really wish they had included that scene. On the other, I would not have seen it through the tears streaming down my face if they had shown that, because it's just too good. Because Q, like, not picking Liz is one thing, right? Like the tease of like, oh, I know Liz has been starving. Anyway, I'm going to pick Kenzie.
Amazing. Yes, I agree.
Amazing, right? The rug pull, beautiful. Like, but then if you had added on Kenzie being like, oh, I know, I feel so guilty. Liz, come on, you can have my spot. And Q saying, no, actually, not her.
Did I win the decision or not?
Oh.
And I decided not. Again, Q was justified. She literally tried to vote for him the night before and was pissed that it didn't happen. That was like, so if Liz had won that reward, not going to happen, but let's just dance with the hypothetical. And she was allowed to pick 7 people. She wouldn't have picked Q.
Nope.
But it was the way that he's like, I know you really haven't been eating.
But
and it was like, the best rug pull of Liz, and is Liz going to eat this? Followed secondly, like in the process of the challenge, we had the music all the way swelling to her, beanbag there, and then missing. Perfect by the editors, on point as usual.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, this week I agree. Like, and again, there would have been that bitter stuff, and again, Liz has decided that her decision to go on a show, which is, the lack of food choice is a known quantity, makes her, that she deserves these things, that anybody not choosing her is making an evil choice rather than, just playing within the constraints of the choices she's made. So that would have happened anyway, but everybody else being like, but really, what was that? Rock, paper, scissors?
And I mean, did a small part of you, like, were you rooting for Q in that one? Just because
a small part? No, there's absolutely no small part of me that was switching. The whole damn thing.
Because, I mean, especially as like the follow-up to last week, right?
Last week I was rooting for him to win that challenge. I wanted to see what happens when he gets to pick people when nobody was talking to. Again, it was so close last week. I just think that like Liz speaking is like nails on a chalkboard for me.
I just loved that it was Q that got to deny Liz a reward a second time.
Yeah, and she's like, can you just do this? She's like, nah, I play to win. If we go 3 rounds, I might start talking about quitting, but right now, Q only knows one way. And the thing about it is, it's not the same as Q's decision before, where Liz was clearly his antagonist. In Maria's mind, Liz is an integral part of her final plans. And yet...
She had discussed, back at the camp, like, oh, maybe it's us.
And I admit that, Q is more integral to her plans, but I feel like you pushed that one off. Like you just ate. It's fine. I feel like we had to do this because otherwise Liz was going to keep coming after you. And we don't want, I think she could have sold Q very easily, but no, man, you guys, in true modern Survivor fashion, you got to earn it.
I think even better is that we see Q at the reward and he's like, man, I just ate. but I'm still having
This ain't right. But that stopped me from eating 27 slices. I fully aboard the Q train again. I did slow down that like it wasn't as fun when everybody was just mad at him. But now that he's like the Teflon Don and like quite aware of how ridiculous the situation is, and he has that like just shit-eating grin. Yes.
It's the Trump tweet all over again. Well, nevertheless. He just keeps wriggling his way out every single time. Hey, speaking of Liz, though, like just another stellar performance from Liz. I think possibly my favorite moment, though, was her saying that she's done being quiet when someone ticks her off. Like, yes, I almost had to pause and applaud at that point because I was like, yes. If there's one thing that I have gathered from these past few episodes, it is that Liz goes silent when someone makes her mad.
Yeah, it wasn't her introduction. This was all like, why is it like this? Don't I have such an ego? Like, we don't know much about you, Liz. But we know this one thing, and or I guess maybe two things: that you don't keep silent when you're angry, and you don't keep silent when people are discussing about how much money they make.
I admittedly a close runner-up to that moment, though, was her deciding that actually maybe holding in anger is what made her develop allergies. This was just a stellar episode for Liz. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's been a great 2-episode arc, and honestly, if next week was her finding an idol and then getting voted out with that idol in her hand, like just an all-timer of a 3-episode arc, right?
Yeah, honestly, if that happens, maybe you just need to call me when the episode's over and say, watch this now, so we could have almost a live reaction. But sadly, it would just be us laughing.
It would.
3 people in a row, man.
And the best part about this is that like the continuing thread is that ever since that tribal council where Q was like, hey, vote for me, she has had this bitter resentment for Q. So much so that she has not voted for him since. Oh, it's so great.
You know what? Maybe
and she's openly talking shit. It's great.
Maybe to give her some credit is that she understands that like it wouldn't be so bad for her if Q made the finals. Right. It's possible. We haven't really heard her verbalize that, but it's possible because it's true.
Right. And realistically, like genuinely good for her if she is able to see the gameplay aspect of that. But it's also very funny.
Oh, it's yes.
Hey, speaking of very funny, you sort of alluded to this earlier, but Venus talking to Charlie. Venus, of course, riding high. She's got this idol. She's about to work her social game magic. She's like, I'm gonna pull in Charlie. He seems like someone I can work with. At this point, I actually underlined game over in my notebook, Andy, because when the summary of the conversation is essentially, I want to work with you and I have a trick up my sleeve. Oh, no, not that one. But there's definitely a trick. No, it's not that. I know it's what you might think it is. It's not that. But I will definitely tell you later when we're friends after this vote. What a social game queen. Just, I don't know that like in the beginning I enjoyed or I anticipated enjoying the Venus experience this much. I definitely did by the end. I was totally on board. This was great.
Yeah, no, and it's actually, again, a nice microcosm of the story we've been getting always from Venus, and that she convinced, and in some respects, this is everybody who's ever played Survivor. She views all of it as the lens of what Venus is doing, right? The soda plan was Venus's plan. The Tevin plan was Venus's plan, not recognizing that it's other people's plans, and she is just a useful pawn at times. So she's like, I can work Charlie. I can do this. Meanwhile, we get the other side of it. And again, like I said, there's probably two sides on most of these things, how they go in Survivor. But Charlie's just like, yeah, I'm keeping it open. This might be my great, avenue to separate myself from Maria, to provide myself a clearer path. But no, she's convinced that, like, oh man, I'm gonna work this Charlie guy over. He's a good kid, but maybe he's not too smart about it. Not like old Venus here.
Yeah. Got to take him under my wing.
And, I like him. So, and this is obviously, confessional, clearly after she had already blundered the situation. So if he shows me some trust, I'll show him something after. Not, of course, recognizing that you've already taken that risk, sister, by hinting at it. And I do love how she's like, I can get away by the letter of the law here when he says, is it an advantage? And it's like, well,
right.
Idols are typically their own thing. I mean, I suppose.
Probst does say advantage or idol, so they're clearly two different things. I didn't lie.
Oh, man. I'm not sad she's gone, because this is the exit that I wanted. It was great. Yes.
I think Charlie in that conversation, like, you could see the wheels turning at the first mention of it, and him being like, that was weird that you would put it that way, right? And like, you can, I think, had she brushed it off well at that point, because I think it is a very easy thing to do to not give Venus much respect, right? Like we saw it with Kenzie earlier. So if she had just played this off and not continued to seem very cool in front of him, like if she had not been going for the accolades and like that, ooh, Maria, Venus, you're so much smarter than I thought. Like if she had just taken the foot off the gas, maybe then he's just like, oh, that's just a weird way for her to describe that. But she's not the type. Like she's not playing well enough that I feel like she would have an idol. But no, she can't. She just has to lean back into it. And he's like, okay, but is it an advantage? And so you're sure that someone else doesn't have the idol, but do you have the idol? And at that point you're like, okay, so yeah, he definitely does know now, right?
Yeah, or the way suspects it enough that, you should be concerned if you're aware. And yeah, big points to Charlie for the way he handled that, because he doesn't let it go. He knows to, talk about it enough to be able to get more information, but he also doesn't press too hard so that he shows his hand, because frankly, at this point, if you're like, maybe she has an idol, you don't want to spook her.
Right.
Yeah, no, I thought he did really well, which kind of leads into the next question is, what are we thinking about Charlie as a game player?
I think he has been the one player this season who seems to realize that getting the credit can actually be a detriment to your game in terms of getting to the end, right? Like I think he understands that at some point, yes, you do want to be recognized for what you've done. But at the same time, he verbalized it in this episode, like, yeah, but in doing so, when there are still many votes left, you're exposing yourself to the people who are like, ooh, I don't want to go up against that person. Thus, you are painting a giant target on yourself. And I think he's done really well of being like the useful part of all of these plans so that he can not necessarily say, hey, this was my plan, but like he can say, we engineered that plan later on, if it's just him and he's gotten the other people out. And then, the final shot of him getting out Maria potentially, for example, that he can claim as him. And then everybody be like, yeah, you did great. You went along with the things you needed to. And then when you had to, you took out, the big.
Well, and we can also reframe it as it goes. That was what I was doing. I was letting Maria take the lead on something that was my plan all along. But I didn't want her to think that. And I didn't want you to think that, because then I used that as the, rope to hoist her with. I feel like his sense of this is really well calibrated. He's not overly cautious. He recognizes that, like, at this point, were it to continue and he was up against Maria, his standing isn't as good as it possibly needs to be. Not saying it's necessarily a lock that he'd lose, but a little close enough for comfort that Hunter should play the idol, so to speak. But also recognizing it's like, well, we don't just have to do it, right? There's time and place. And I believe him when he says that he is going to make the attempt when necessary. Obviously, things can happen in the game to prevent you from having that chance. It happened this very episode. I think there's a strong chance that if Maria was not immune, then maybe that would have been the move. But I think even in doing so, he's already had laid the ground to insulate himself enough that it wouldn't be a situation where you turn on your main ally and now you're next because you're unprotected. I think he, and it could happen. He's certainly a good target. He's won challenges, but it's not as obvious as it's been for other people this season. It's not like in David versus Goliath when Gabby turned on Christian unsuccessfully because he was, immune. Or I think the idol was played on him without actually having any kind of plan B or any people on her side at all. Like, he's done the work to be able to make the move, but he doesn't seem to be doing like, I just want to make the move because it's Charlie time, And so,
right,
we'll have to see how he lands it, And I don't just mean scoreboard. It doesn't just have to be a win, but from what I'm seeing, it does feel like he's playing really well, and maybe the only person I feel that way about. I think Maria's playing decently, but I think she has obvious weakness right now. Her need for credit. It's why we didn't praise her 2 weeks ago, and then last week she looked really good. It was because when Kenzie came to the idea of goading out Tiff, she's like, well, that's what I want to do, but I don't want to do it now that it's not mine. That's what had us low on her then, and then it's kind of cropped up in a different way this week. Whereas, Charlie, I feel like, has a healthy enough ego that he's not too worried about that just yet.
And I think the other thing, it's sort of building on the discussion about taking out your number one last week. I think one of the things that I said is that if you're going to do that, you need to then have the sort of relationships that you can just roll with somebody else or another group of people. And I think we've seen Charlie interacting fairly well with enough people that I don't think he's going to struggle to find other people to work with. And especially once you get this late in the game, whether or not you have super strong relationships with anybody, even if it's just in your mutual interest to work together, I think he can exploit that angle. So I don't think Charlie potentially going at his number one at this point in the game is as big a risk because he does have backups. I think Ben is. I think
that's just going to be his other number one. I think he has a number one backup.
Yes,
nobody
exactly.
else does. And this episode actually only made it
right
better in that regard, because who would he be competing with for Ben? Kenzie. Who did Ben just vote for? Kenzie. So I think he's set up really, really well. He'll have to do the thing. All right. If he doesn't at some point either opportunity present itself or have the stomach to get out the people he needs to get out, in this point, I feel like Maria is kind of that person. He talks about Q, but really it's in that the power that Q gives Maria. I think without Maria, Q is no longer a threat. It's weird that people were saying we got to get rid of them or they'll win, but I really think they were just conflating that with we had to get Maria out, but we'd also like to get Q out, and they would just squish the sentences together.
Yes.
I'm hoping nobody actually believes Q is a threat for winning, but he certainly is a threat from getting in the way of people. Look what happened. But I think Charlie's there. And obviously some of this is he is given the space to explain himself in the way that maybe other people aren't. But even in the decision that he had this episode, he very clearly laid out why it's potentially great benefit, but there's some risks that if he doesn't do it, the move now, these people may never believe that he'll do it again. And what's the risk and outcome? All that said, I think he made the right choice. I think because this is a scoreboard thing, but Venus did have the idol. Good to get rid of the idol holder so that they can't block you from doing so when the time comes.
Yeah, and I think part of his calculus was probably that you shouldn't take half measures, right? You go at Maria, you don't go at her pocket
Yep.
vote. You're also sort of playing the odds that a Maria is not going to be immune at both 5 and 6,
Mhm.
which I think is a reasonable bet. Like she has one immunity. It's not like
Yeah, and she's been in
entirely-
like second place. So yeah, it's not out of the realm, but it's not like a hunter type
Exactly.
situation. Yeah.
Right. You're like, you have to play the odds. There's some element of risk in doing this. Obviously, you can't take her out right now anyway. So, I support this one just because I don't think it's that insane to think that you might have another shot at
Yeah.
Maria.
Especially,
So-
again, if you've been insulating Ben more, and I feel confident that Ben is more with Charlie than Ben is with Maria. Some of that's informed by things that did not make the edit, so who knows how relevant they are. That they happened, it's a real thing. So no, I'm impressed by Charlie thus far.
You know what I'm also impressed by is the fact that Q is still here. How is this happening? I mean, also, I don't know if you caught this in the preview, but
The storm?
he did the storm thing. He
The
said
Q
he
storm is
wants-
coming. Oh my God. Is he
he
actually
wants-
Q?
I don't know. But like, this can't be a coincidence, right? It's getting ridiculous at this point. Like, I think for a certain specific crowd watching this, we're all like, come on, really? Like, this is just getting way too referential.
Yeah, and
like,
in that he was doing it, maybe he's in on the joke. He is somebody in his life, chosen or been given the nickname Q. Like, that's not his birth name. I believe it's Quintavious or something. So maybe because I don't know how much internet they have in Alabama, but he's younger. Maybe he knows and hears about it. It's like, you know what? I'm taking it back. The storm.
Oh, it was insane. I mean, I can't, like, what? Anyway.
When we knew there was a contestant on this upcoming season, at this point we know next to nothing, right? That's how it is. But that goes by Q. We were both like, man, we're gonna wear the hell out of that joke, and
Yes.
congrats, right? It's nice to set goals and achieve, but we didn't know that it would also be text.
I did not think he would lean into it. And this is the storm thing is not the only time that it's happened. Like, again, I think I've referenced earlier in the season where it's like, what is all this stuff about like Q's theory and like, oh man, just some of the language around it. I'm like, is that making the edit on purpose? Is this like a knowing wink? And it's just like, you can't know because you have to be truly online. I bet a whole bunch of our audience right now is like, I don't even
My
know what
wife
the fuck
has
you guys are
no
talking
idea.
about.
I've explained it a little bit, but then I'm like, honestly, you're a better person for not knowing.
Yeah, you don't want to know. But those who do know have got to be like, what the fuck? Really? Come on.
Like, this is better than last year when we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna definitely do like Brandon bits. No, it's been there the whole way.
It is. Yeah. I mean, Brandon, like, by episode 2 had failed us. We could no longer let's go him. But this is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Much like himself. And again, now I'll pose it again. At what point and what would it take for you people on the show to believe that a vote for Q is actually a vote for Q?
Right. And not only that, but like, if he makes it to the end, and I'm not saying it's a persuasive argument, but at the same time, like, couldn't you just say, look, you guys could have taken me out at absolutely any point.
I
Like,
literally asked you to.
I said, do it. And for the next 6 votes, you didn't.
Just John Travolta and Samuel Jackson standing there with the bullet holes all around.
I just, yeah, I mean, at that point, you say, like, is this, I feel like this is, you all failed, and thus I succeeded, and I deserve this win. And it's not the worst argument I've ever heard.
I want to
I
see
do
it.
too, but I don't know that he could be able to make it, but we'll see. Hey, speaking of things that I don't truly understand, we were informed by our podcast hosts that people can now text us for some reason. This is a real thing that the podcast host decided to do. I tested it out. It does work. We get no identifying information from you other than the last 4 digits of a phone number, and a message from you. And like now it's going to be in the links to all of our podcasts, like in the descriptions on whatever service you happen to be using. If you go to the description, you should see a little link in there that says like, click this and you can text, and it'll send us a ridiculous message. We got one from someone that is definitely not Matt, that is way too inside baseball for me to read this time. But yeah, it works. So if you have ever listened to this podcast, and there are a lot of people who listen and do not join in on the comment section and stuff like that, and you're like, I want to tell these idiots how much I hate them, you can do that now. Just look in the episode description or on our site. I'll put a little link to it there too. And if you're on your phone, just click that and you can text a message to us. I don't know why you would do this. I don't know why our podcast host was like, this seems like a thing you need, but now it's a thing.
Engagement, John.
Sure. Got to get them numbers.
And look, you could DM us through that social media site. There's no point in doing that because we're not really checking that much at all. So this could be a replacement for that. I just now realized when you're like, should we do this? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? Is this textual only, or we might be getting texts that we don't?
Are we going to be getting sent nudes? I don't know if that's a thing.
Let's hope not. Don't try. Now, ultimately, I suppose that was always an option with the DMs and emails available, and that we've been clean in that regard. We'll keep that streak going,
and
like this show in a non-idle place.
And an old school emailed nude. Oh,
that'd be
vintage.
That'd be bold.
What a throwback. So, hey,
with the dial-up slowly, revealing,
and just line by line, like, oh, I think I can see. Oh, no.
Why am I waiting for the rest to render?
Hey, speaking of nostalgia, there was a Ninja Turtles reference this episode. So, with that in mind, I think for this week's top 3, we should do top 3 TLC songs, because there was also a reference to Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And now you may be thinking, hey, that's like the Temptations Motown-y thing. No, that is a reference to TLC. Ergo.
In this house.
Yes. No.
We use the digit 2, not the TO.
T-Baw's Left Eye Chili. This is the reference that they are making in this show. So, that in mind, let's do our top 3 TLC songs. Andy, you can lead off. I'm excited to do this, by the way, because I legit love TLC.
Yeah, this is the band of all the ones we've done so far this season. This the most I've actually been a fan of the band. Like I'd say Oasis or Taylor Swift would probably be second, but like I had their first 3 CDs. I have Crazy Sexy Cool on vinyl. I'm a fan. The one down thing is because I was busy all day today, I didn't get to do my usual ritual of like listening to music and deciding, but that's fine. I got a TLC 3 on lock. So number 3, I'm going to start with No Scrubs.
Ooh.
Which I would say is probably their biggest hit, or maybe second, something else. This would be my youngest son's favorite TLC song, because I threw it on a basketball playlist, and I'm like, well, Scrubs, yeah. Well, the song does a great thing that more songs should do, and that it defines its terms to lead off the song.
Yes.
I did have to explain, like, this is good for basketball, because that's also what you call somebody who is not good at the sport, and we don't want no scrubs on this team.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be helpful if, Van Halen led off, Panama, explaining to us what they're referring to when they say Panama? Because I still don't quite know. Is it the car? Is it the woman? Is it the drugs? I don't know.
It's not
this
clear.
Song tells us right away what a scrub is and what a service that is.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a jam. I love it. I just have a few other personal choices that beats it in the top 3.
Yeah, and you're right. There's no ambiguity. It also, I know, because I have not, for previous episodes of this. I've not gone through and like listened to these songs. I just like from memory was like, oh, these were my favorites. In this case, I did look on Spotify. No Scrubs has like 1 billion listens.
Yes.
Like, it is far and away their most popular song, at least on Spotify.
Yeah. And 1 billion correct choices. You were all right when you did it.
Absolutely. Like no disrespect at all. Like that is a great choice. For me, number 3, I'm going to go with the reason that we're having this list at all. Ain't Too Proud to Beg. You know, as a bro, I respect a horny song. And this is a very horny song. Also for its time, it was like early 90s, like, you know, 2 inches or a yard rock harder, Fit Sagging. These are inclusive queens, right? Like these are women who are not afraid to let you know that, you know, they will accept all comers. There has to be a better way to say that. As the words were coming out of my mouth, I was like,
I mean, yes, but no.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, the train has left the station. Please, someone stop it. And it didn't stop. But yes, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Also, I had to include it because, you know, it was from their first major album. And like, this was still in the era where Left Eye was just, the raps were weird. Like I wanted to include What About Your Friends, which has possibly even worse rapping. No, it's definitely even worse rapping. It's just a string of words that kind of rhyme but don't make sense altogether. And like, you shouldn't think too hard about what's being said because otherwise it'll ruin the song for you. So
yeah. So that was their lead-off single, very first TLC song I'd ever heard. You know, then bought the CD as a result. But yeah, I don't actually have anything from their first album, but it was fun. You know, she'd wear like a condom over her right eye with the glasses. Yeah. Like, yeah, they were big on their fashion. For me, number 2 is Creep. I wonder where that would rank on my Radiohead top 3. Different list. You know, real talk, I was like terrified. What if they do, like, what if Ben mentions Radiohead this week and I'm missing last week because I was listening to it while driving to my destination. Sorry, that was a tangent. Yeah, it's just it's got a great vibe. Like as soon as those horns kick in and you got T-Boz, you know, setting us off. That's my vibe. Again, that's kind of where, like, if you're surprised that No Scrubs was like 3, it's just because my personal tastes lean a little bit farther here, and it's just such a great jam.
Yeah, and also my number 2, because honestly, it's a tough call. Like this was almost my number 1.
Yeah, same.
Once again, very sexy song. You know, it's from Crazy Sexy Cool. Really leans into the sexy. Like that, a lot of that album leans into the sexy. Red Light Special, this song. Like, it's good stuff. And yeah, it was really close to being my number 1. But without further ado, I'll let you get to your number 1.
So speaking of, my number 1 is Red Light Special. What a sexy fucking song. And if you're reading that in like voice to text, interpret that collection of words any way you want. You can choose the second word to be just a modifier to the third or descriptive term, because both are true. Yeah, man. I like to the point where like when I bought the record, I'm like, hey man, like kids listen to TLC and Waterfalls was a huge song. I put it on. I'm like, you know what? While not explicit, probably just too fucking hot for like to be listening to with like my children within earshot or whatever.
Right.
And, you know, because even though I was probably my oldest son's age when I had the album, he can listen to it on his own. Who wants to listen to that with dad? But I do. That it's so great. And it's kind of, before you get to your final, like, let's a sub bonus list. Rank the members of TLC.
I actually debated saying to you, no, now you have to actually just rank TLC. Like I was,
or you know what, we don't need to do the 3. Let's just pick your 1. Who is your 1, TL or C?
It's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
So I'll say mine. And then, so growing up, like when I was listening, I was a Chili guy.
Sure.
You know, and I think it's more, she's just a little more femme. You know, she got the longer hair, the soprano voice. but now I'm T-Boss all the way. And probably, yeah, that's reflected in my top 2 songs. And maybe it's just, when I was a boy, it was Chili. And now that I'm a man, How about yourself?
Yeah, I actually would have gone when I was younger. It would have been Left Eye, just because part of the thing that drew me to TLC was the fact that they were mixing like the R&B vibe with a little bit of like some Left Eye rap.
Yeah.
Like it was a fun combo. But now Grown Ass Me is all about Chili. So
there you go.
Chili is my number 1.
All right. So now
Also,
your number 1 song.
My number 1 song, you already had it at number 3, No Scrubs. Like how can it not be? Like it hit the lexicon, man. Like it's, Scrubs was not a term that like came out of nowhere. It's like
why it required definition.
I mean, it existed, but they defined it, and it became part of like the cultural lexicon, and that's a legit impact from a song. So I had to put that as my number 1.
All right, so hot take. I don't really like Waterfalls that much.
It's, you know what? I was looking through this, and I was looking through this list on Spotify, and I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to these songs. And I didn't play Waterfalls because I was like, you know what? I don't.
You feel like you've heard it
never in
enough
mood.
in your life. You're full up in that regard. Yeah,
it's a good song, but it doesn't. I'm never in the mood to be like, I want to hear Waterfalls.
Yeah, it's just a little schmaltzy. And great for the time, but now I don't need the AIDS references as much. That makes it. Again, I'm not trying to sweep them under the rug or anything, but very much a document of its time. And even at the time, I would skip the track when I could. Obviously, if I'm listening to it in mixed company, it would have been like the favorite song, often of the other people listening, often female. But for myself, I'm good. I mean, I don't really skip it that now because skipping on vinyl is not something to be avoided.
It's a process.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, if it's like the last song on a side and it sucks, that's easy. Just get up and flip it now. But otherwise, yeah. And just so people, I do stream as well. I do about that analog.
Andy's fully analog in his house.
Frequently, if I have it on vinyl, I'm less likely to stream it because it's like, well, why don't I just listen to it that way if I can? Not so much in the car. Tough to listen to vinyl in the car, just gonna say.
Yeah. A little scratchy.
We obviously would have been silly to rank Ninja Turtles. There's only fucking 4 of them. But who was your guy?
I mean, I again debated that one too. Just being like, well, come on.
As soon as he says it, it's like, but
yeah, I was a Michelangelo person myself.
As were most, and that's fine. At the time, I felt like maybe it was just too obvious. That's the kind of kid I was. It's why I call it out now with the Survivor fans. It's like, oh no, the one I appreciate was the third out in season blah blah blah. No, it's like, no. How about I go with Boston Rob? Huh? How about that? The Michelangelo of Survivor in the Ninja Turtle version, not so much in the Renaissance Artist version. So yeah, I was a Raphael guy. He was kind of snarkier, which I probably wasn't at that age, but maybe it appealed to me. But Mikey had the better weapon, like nunchucks was like that was the jam.
Yeah, I mean that was it. Like it was, I was sort of, you go for the popular shit as a kid, right? And I was like, nunchucks, yeah, and he's funny, and they all like pizza, so that's an equalizing.
But he seemed to really like it in part because like he was clearly like coded as like a stoner, right?
Yeah, or at least like he's the slacker of the group.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that it was ever like explicitly leaning towards stoner, but it was just slacker vibes.
Yeah. Public service announcement. If you have not watched the recent Ninja Turtle animated film, correct that. It's great.
Really?
Yeah, it was just really funny, and the art was very like groundbreaking, like and fun in the way like the new Spider-Mans were and stuff. So yeah, 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed that.
Nice. Okay. I have no movie recommendations.
Right. I mean, I wasn't necessarily talking to you. Some, though, if like you could be like, I could maybe watch a movie. You could watch it with your kids, although they do punch each other, so maybe not. But
I'm out.
To everybody else that like partakes in the visual form of storytelling that is moving pictures, this is a good one.
All right. Anything else for this week, Andy?
I think we covered it. Just obviously the big hope for next week is the Cursed Idol comes again.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can find us on purplerockpodcast.com. And like I said, you can send us a text for some weird reason. Other than that, nothing to say. So let's hit some theme music.
This is the copyright-free outro to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast.